Welcome to Bold Women Lawyers Spotlight interview. We're going to have some fun today, talking about a topic that's near and dear to all my lawyer friends and lawyer clients' hearts, and that is success. We are very lucky to have with us today Linda Bucher, who is an authentic, heart-centered master coach, mindset mentor, transformational speaker, author, and if that wasn't enough, she's an MBA. Her gift is lighting the way for those who are excited about giving their gifts to the world. She loves helping them discover their path, balance their lives. Gosh, we all need that. And align their energy and gifts so that they can make their mark on the world. So, Linda, I am really happy to have you with us. Thank you for agreeing to come on and do this interview today.
Well, I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Sharon.
Now, you and I met a while back, and we've had some great discussions. But I'm going to ask you first: can you explain to our audience how you got to the point where you are now as a heart-centered master coach and mindset mentor? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, it started with the realization that I was chasing someone else's definition of success, and that the destination I was trying to get to wasn't really where I wanted to go. So that was interesting.
Indeed. And what were you doing at the time when you said, like, wait a minute, this is somebody else's definition of success?
Right. Well, I had been climbing the corporate ladder for about a quarter century. That's what I had been doing. And I was, making more money and getting better titles and nicer, upgrades from cubes to offices and power suits and reputation and all of that. And and then I was buying a big new house. I had a cottage at the lake. On paper, my life looked like shiny and awesome, but inside I was gapingly unfulfilled. And I was like, what? How dare I look at my life, right? How dare I feel this way? But nonetheless, that's where the feeling came from, deep inside of me. And when I say unfulfilled, that's one of the things we'll touch upon today when we talk about, you know, success and what the definition needs to encompass. So after doing all that, going up this corporate ladder and looking at the example of my father who was the only one in his neighborhood to ever go to college, and then he kept going to night school when I was a kid until he graduated, and then he went and got a master's degree, and then he bought a company, and I had watched him, right? And then he got a nicer car and a better house, and he joined a country club, he joined another country club, and what I had been missing the whole time was my mother's example. She was a piano teacher, and she adored every minute that she did what she was doing. And I've never, like, the noise of bigger, better, faster climbing was noisier than my mother's smile of loving and being fulfilled by helping, people bring the music out that's within them. Right. And so I'm like, how did I not notice that? I was like 45 years old. I was like, whoa, hold on. I want the feeling she had every single day, not this feeling of strive and hope somebody notices and buy bigger, better things, but still feeling unfulfilled.
So you have put into words the feelings that have been expressed to me by so many lawyers. But here's my question. How did you gather the courage to say, enough's enough?
Well, I would say there's probably 2 or 3 things that went into that. First was I was experiencing the physical symptoms of the stress that comes with going in the wrong direction in complete contrast to where my inner GPS wanted me to go. So back and neck pain. I was sleeping maybe 15 minutes before I'd have to wake up and move because I hurt. I couldn't even sit in meetings half the time. My gallbladder was working at about 24%, and no matter what I ate, I felt awful. I had 22 extra pounds on me, even though I was exercising, and I just, and so that's the physical symptoms of stress. They were all coming out. So that's one thing. When that gets bad enough, you say, okay, something's got to give. And so I set a very purposeful intention that something's got to give. It was like an intention, right? And then another thing that happened is I had ignored the universal nudges for about 9 years that said, this is your GPS saying, make a U-turn, make a U-turn, make a U-turn, make a U-turn. And finally, when I was ready to listen, because I was so physically uncomfortable, the way was kind of shown to me. I had this epiphany visiting a website that I was like, oh my God, become a coach. I'm supposed to be a coach. And it was like the cartoon boxing glove hit me in this side of the head, and the lightning bolt came down and hit me in that side of the head. I didn't even know what a coach was, but I just had this knowing that that was supposed to be what I was supposed to do. And then the courage came from, I looked back at when I had graduated from college. I was younger. I was stupider. I had a piece of crap car and nothing else, no job, no prospects, but yet I felt like I could do anything, right? So here I was 45 years old, and I looked back at all I had accomplished, all those fancy assets I had acquired, all the smarts I gained along the way as I climbed that corporate ladder. And I realized if I could do it then, I could do it again and probably even better. And so, like, I believe the quote's by Anais Nin that says, the bird goes out on the limb, not because it trusts the limb not to break, but because it trusts its wings to fly. And that's what I did.
Wow. Wow. I love that. I love that quote. So tell me you mentioned the phrase, you realized you were chasing someone else's success. And I love that phrase because I think that happens so frequently and we get caught up in it. What does it mean to chase your own success?
Well, when you redefine success around who you are, and you do, like I have I have a quote. It says, when you wrap what you're doing and how you're doing it around who you are, success and happiness will meet you there. So, and that's my quote, so you can quote me on that one. So we want to redefine success according to who we are. We are at the center of success. And I had been chasing an example of success that came from my dad. And we're all chasing something. Maybe it's from your peers or your professors or, the other people in your neighborhood, right? But because I never stopped to ask myself, what does it look like for me? So when I discovered that, I said, well, I've got to discover who I am first. That's the first step. Who am I? What do I want outside of my roles and responsibilities? Because I'm like, I'm the main player here. If it doesn't wrap around me, who I am and what I want, then it's not my success. And once it does wrap around who I am and what I want, then there's no chasing required. There's no more chasing. Now it's just living, because success is not a destination. It's a manner of traveling. So I'm living my definition of success.
So tell me, for our listeners, like if people are listening going, oh yeah, that's me. I'm definitely chasing somebody else's definition. And I'm not happy doing it. What's like the first step you would take to try to realign your success thinking?
Well, there's actually 3 steps. The first is to understand the main players on the stage of your personal definition of success, who they are and what they are and why they're important. And then the next thing is to discover the surprising supporting cast, and then how to actually go about achieving success on your own terms. So that's in a nutshell, and I'm happy to walk through those things if you'd like.
Yes, that would be great. Yes.
All right, I will. Okay, so let's see, where do I want to start? Let's start with these 3 main players. Okay, so we've got freedom. That is one of the main players
Mhm.
on the stage of success. The very thing that I was missing in that corporate life was freedom. Since we're in kindergarten, we set the alarm, getting way up early, going places, doing what they say to do, get home. Maybe there's homework, or once you're an adult and there's no more homework, oh, there's homework. We're still doing a lot of work at home once we get home, and it was just, life was being dictated, right? So I didn't have freedom, and I didn't realize, but I'm a freedom junkie. And freedom is the very beginning of redefining success, because if you've ever dreamed of winning the lottery, it's not about the money. The reason it would be so awesome is because you'd have the freedom to do what you want, when you want, where you want. Okay. So when we look at the freedom component as one of the main players, we want to start with identifying what freedoms we desire, but that's not even where the answer lies, right? So maybe, what freedoms do you desire? I want to travel the world. I want to never set an alarm again. I want to take a walk in nature every single day at 2 o'clock, but so you start with, like, what would I want the freedom to do, right? But then, as a coach, we always go to the next level deeper, and it's why. You got to dive in deeper. Why do I want to travel the world? And that helps me get to know me even better. It helps me get clearer on my true values and what's most important to me. So, when you go a little deeper, you discover these deeper motivations, and those deeper motivations are really the foundation of our personal definition of success. So that's the first main player. The second main player is life balance. Now, I know it's all over the internet, work-life balance, 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 balance. And some people think it's impossible. And some people think you can structure it and time block it, right? And it's neither one of those. It's one of those. But when life feels like a big, giant juggling act, and when you're unbalanced, you always are in this state of shifting and longing. You shift over here to take care of this, and then you long for that. And you shift over here and you long for that. Because something's always getting shorted. So when you redefine success for who you are, you've got to include that part of your definition is what life balance feels like, delicious and perfect for you, not based on someone else's, definition, or your even perceived roles and responsibilities, right? So, and I'm not saying your roles and responsibilities aren't real, because they really are. And there's always going to be some balancing. But I'm talking, like, to get that lopsided, out of balance life, that can't be rectified until you hone in on what your ideal life balance is. So how do you know how to rectify it if you haven't defined what it is?
Right.
So we hone in on the perfect life balance. I like to have people, not do it, I'm like, do a pie chart, right? Because that's your capacity. I don't like to think in terms of time. I think capacity is important, because we all met with a person for 5 minutes who used up all our energy for the whole day in just 5 minutes. Okay.
Yes. Yes. We've
aware,
been there.
right?
Mhm.
So it's not about time. It's about managing our energy and our capacity. And in order to manage it in a balanced way, we've got to define what would that look like? So we can look in our pie chart. I usually have my clients draw a pie chart of what is it right now. Let's say you had to make a pie slice for your career and your work, another pie slice for your relationships, and another pie slice for you. How are you allocating your capacity on average right now? And then they look at it, is that ideal? And they're like, no, not at all. So it's not, and also, if I had to make a second time slot, a second pie chart about what do you think you're supposed to be allotting, right? It would still look different than where I want them to get to, which is really to feel their way into the capacity allocation that would make them feel buoyant. Okay. So what would feel good? Not what do you think you're supposed to do, and not where you are now. What would feel really good? And so, and then within your career, your relationships, and yourself, within each pie piece of how you would love to allot it, what would you really want to be doing within those, right? Who would you want to be doing this with? So when you say your relationships, right? We've got a lot of people we have relationships with.
Yeah.
How much time would we like to spend on our friendships, or capacity, I should say? How much capacity with our significant other, with our children, or our other family members, right? And then with ourself, right? That's usually the smallest pie piece.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
ideally, when we finally get to the understanding that it is not selfish to care for yourself, it's healthy, and you can help be your best self for others who deserve your best self. Then you can really get clear on what would I be doing, right? So, and within your career, right? What can you see yourself doing that would light you up within your career? Would you be serving your community? Would you be helping people? Would you be solving problems? So you're looking deeper, not just what's the pie piece, but again, into that pie piece. What
Hmm.
would light me up, right? In relationships, what would feel really like a beautiful, perfect, application or allocation of your energy, right? And what can you see yourself doing when you say with my friends, with like what would be amazing, what would feel really good? And then we've got this life balance piece too, right? So we're rebalancing it, but not until you can't do that until you understand what it would look like and what you'd be doing with it in a way that lights you up. Again, learning more about yourself, diving deeper into those motivations, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the third piece is fulfillment. Now, fulfillment is what, in our definition of success, it's what gives meaning to what we're doing. It gives the meaning. So it's not something you can measure. It's really feelings based. And like we certainly know when we're experiencing discontent, right? We have this void and we feel empty and we feel unfulfilled. But we've also experienced, like fulfillment in times, and we can look back and find those because fulfillment has like personal values that they're being checked, right? We feel purpose, we feel
Mhm.
satisfaction. So like loving what you do and knowing that it matters, right? And because it matters to you, it helps you to identify this path to success. So when we're saying what fulfills me, right? Where do I gain the most satisfaction in my career, in my relationships, with myself, right? Like, oh, when I solve a puzzle, when I do Sudoku puzzle, yeah, ching, see, still smart, right? You know? What is it that fills us up? And it's not the Sudoku puzzle. It's the what I got out of it. What was that nectar? That's our fulfillment, is our nectar. Like, why do we keep coming back to these flowers, right? What are these flowers made of? Oh, it's made of, I like to solve challenges and solve puzzles, right? I
Mhm.
love to be in nature. Nature fulfills me. I like to use metaphors because fulfillment's like a, nebulous type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like feelings, right? Success feels like, success smells like, success sounds like, right? And and it sounds like a, you know, babbling brook, right? We
Mhm.
have to invoke these feelings to really understand that fulfillment and look back what in our past has made us feel the most fulfilled, and why do I think that was, diving deeper to that lower level. So those are the three main players. And then right about now, I get the question. Well, Linda,
What ab
go ahead.
what about the money?
What about the
What
money?
about the money? That is the next question.
What about the
Yes.
money? That is
Yes.
exactly the next question. So now, equally as personal is our desire for creature comforts, right? And this is where
Right.
the money part enters in. But before we talk about the money part, I like to kind of talk about stuff. Okay. Now, chances
Mm.
are many of the things we've accumulated comes under the heading of stuff. This is keeping up with the Joneses stuff meant to prove that you're worth prove your worth, prove your success, stuff accepted from other people out of politeness, right? Stuff you
Yeah.
keep because you don't trust tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
That's a big
Mhm.
one.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then under the category of stuff, we got junk, things you'd get rid of if you only had the life balance that allowed you to find the time to get rid of them, right? But then we have the other category, and that category is belongings. And those are things that belong. They warm
Yeah.
your heart, they make you feel really good, they reflect who you are. And surrounding yourself with belongings adds to your sense of fulfillment, right? And it reminds you of what's truly important to you. So these are the things, right? That we want to have when we're thinking about our pursuit of success. Um, and so we want to look at our financial goals and not think about stuff, and instead think about belongings. And so the way I like to look at this is by asking this very important question. What if no one were looking, right? What if it
Mhm.
couldn't be used as a measuring stick at all by me or by my neighbors or by my family or by anyone else who wants to judge me, right? Like you got to look at that. And only after you do that can you start to look at the dollars. So we don't even address dollars till we understand the difference between stuff and junk and we throw away that measuring stick. It's not a measure of our worth. It's not a measure of our success. Now, what do I truly want? So, do I want that convertible car because the feeling of wind in my hair and sun on my shoulders fulfills me? Well, then, yes, I need to budget for that convertible car, right? If I want that convertible car because all my neighbors are driving around Audis and Mercedes and I need to keep up, that's not me. That's not my definition of success. It doesn't belong in my definition. Okay. Now, I like to use the revenue requirements approach to success for when it comes to the money part. And I learned this when I used to work at a utility company, and they sent me away because to teach me so I could go into this week-long course about revenue requirements, right? And basically, revenue requirements was you add up all the costs and the
Mhm.
profit that you want to make and the tax you're going to have to pay on the profit, you put that in the cost. And that's how much revenue you need to bring in, right? So
Right.
using this same formula, now that we know the freedoms that we want that matter to us can't be used as a measuring stick. We know the fulfillment that we want to have and what types of things would fulfill us. And sometimes it's free, like sitting in a lawn chair at the park on the water, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And we know our the kind of life balance that we want to have and includes spending time with people that can be done for free. But we also know we love that wind in our hair and the sun of our shoulders, and we want to have a convertible, right? It's not used as a measuring stick. Then you can look at all of that and say, how much money would I need to fund this?
Mhm.
Almost
Mhm.
all the time, it's way less than you think and probably less than you make.
Which
It's
is important. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, I'm not saying don't make more. Absolutely make
No.
more. It lets you do more things that are fulfilling, maybe charity and who knows, however else, and help and providing rides in your convertible to the neighborhood kids, like whatever it is, right? You know, but money, it's really revenue requirements. Now that I know what's important to me, now how much money would I need to fund that? That's where the money comes in.
So it's interesting because one of the things that you made me think of is the idea of figuring out what is sort of my motivation for wanting X, Y, and Z. And when you discover it's somebody else's measure of success, it's really not mine. That's a huge discovery. But how do you pull yourself out of that? You may have built your life to a certain extent around everybody else's definition of success and the stuff you need to prove it.
Mhm.
How do you back out of that?
Right. So what you're asking is how do you separate your ego from your salary and your salary from your worth?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a great way to put it because that's what I'm asking. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, first of all, re how can it, most people's perception of their worthiness is all messed up and bruised and battered because we we came to that conclusion when we were children. And a child's mind doesn't know what the adult mind knows. But as a
Mhm.
child, when we are applauded, yay, good job, we feel loved. So we associate praise with love. And then we get reprimanded because we ran into the street or whatever we did, and we go, no, 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 that's bad, 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 right? Then we feel unlovable. Like we did something wrong. We take it to heart as children, like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
right? So we associate being judged or being reprimanded with being unlovable. Now, you and I as adults, we know praise and love are not synonymous at all. Okay.
Right. Right.
We can praise someone that we don't love, and we can love someone when we're not praising what they're doing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But children don't know this. And so, but what happens is our ego doesn't like to be wrong. So once we start having a belief, whether that when you're 5 years old, you get this belief, right? Wherever it is.
Mhm.
And this happens when as adults as well. Once you have a belief, your brain is going to try to find evidence to support what it already believes to be true and ignore all the rest, right? And
Yes.
so we confirmation bias, right? We're only looking for things that support what we
That's-
already believe.
Mhm.
And so what happens with this worthiness is our child, we have this belief. So every time we're being reprimanded, every time we get a bad grade or we get in trouble in school or we get yelled at for coming home late or whatever, it keeps feeding that you're not enough, you're unlovable, you're not enough, you're not worthy, right?
Mhm.
So every person has this degraded sense of worthiness just because it was the child's brain. And then the ego does what the ego does. Okay. So that's important to understand. And then on the other side, if I were to ask you, I don't know if you have any children, but if you've ever been with a newborn infant, right?
Mhm.
On a scale of percents, 0 to 100, how worthy is that infant of love, attention, affection? How worthy?
Oh, sure. 200%. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? 1,000,000%, right? But they don't do anything. Well, they do. They do like 6 things: eat, sleep, cry, pee, poop, and puke. Yes, they do
That's
6
it.
things.
Yes.
6 little things. But wait a minute. They didn't have to earn that worthiness. They're just worthy just because they exist. What? Right? And then when, as the parent, that child runs out in the street at 4 years old and you freak out and you scream and yell and pull them back and swat their little butt and say, "Don't you ever do that again," right? How worthy are they then? Bazillion%, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So then I asked my clients, so when did it change for you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
isn't that a good
Mhm.
one? Yeah.
Mhm.
See,
Mhm.
wait a minute. We just proved that worthiness is not earnable, and we just proved that it's not degradable. Attorneys got to love this because so logical, right? It's not degradable.
Exactly. Exactly.
So what's messed up? Your perception of your worthiness,
Yeah.
not your worthiness. You are just as whole and worthy as you were the day you were born. Regardless of what you've interpreted the world to be or pick on you or think of you, regardless of the people in your life that have told you otherwise, it's not a truth. It's not a truth. So, um,
Yes.
so I don't help people become worthy. I help them recognize how worthy they are and repair their sense of worthiness. I call it the worthiness repair shop. I've done it as a workshop before. The worthiness repair shop. Come into the worthiness. We will repair that sense of worthiness. And basically, what I share today is the very beginning and most important part of that workshop, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So once you do that and you come to that knowing at a cellular level, I am enough, not at that not that boastful hubris, right? We're not looking for that. Those are the most insecure people who really don't know their worth, right?
Yeah.
The louder they are, the more insecure they are. The more they talk themselves up, like I'm all that in a bag of chips, right? The more they tell everybody that, the more insecure they are, the more work they need with someone like me, right? But everybody has this. And once we repair the sense of worthiness, then you honestly don't care what other people think.
Exactly. I'm
Seriously,
so glad you said that.
doesn't
Exactly.
even
Yes.
compute. It's okay. And not only is it okay, it's not like you're walking around going, well, I don't care what they think. I don't care what they think.
No.
That's not true. Those people actually do care what they think. When you say it's okay, it's okay that you judge me. It's okay that you think, that you don't like my, rusted out Chevy, but it was my grandfather's and it's important to me, like, right? I
Exactly.
don't care what you think. It's okay. Think whatever you want. That's your prerogative. Because people can only view you through their own lens of perception, and their lens is tainted. It's all schmutzed up with their own worthiness stuff that they haven't moved through, with their own
Yeah.
experiences, with their own fears and their own insecurities. Their lens is all messed up. They can't see you clearly. They can only see through their own lens.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's such a great point. And, I know that I found when I finally reached the point of being able to say, you know what? I'm on my own journey, and this is what's good for me. And you may see it very differently. And that's okay that you see it because it's not your journey. And
Right.
you have your own journey. And, my perception of it may be the same as yours, may be different, but it doesn't matter because it's your journey, not mine.
Mhm.
So, what a wonderful, wonderful point. It's so, it's so liberating, I think, when you finally get to the point in your life where you feel like you can say that and you can let go of all that other junk.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's, we've also got other, besides this worry about judgments from others, right?
Mhm.
We also have these other barriers to success that are important to bring up. We have the fear of becoming someone that we don't like, who we see as successful. So we are afraid, well, if I'm successful, will I be greedy or self-important or snobby, right? Sometimes we have a needy relationship with money, and that stems from our own fear and insecurity and like a fierce determination to be self-sufficient. Or also we got those money beliefs from our parents, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
we
Sure.
also obviously have the fear of failure, but we also have the fear of success. Like maybe I remember I was at one point afraid of losing someone important to me because they were snobby against rich people, right? So, oh, if I become a rich person, they won't like me, and that relationship's important to me, right? Or we're afraid of success because we're like, okay, it's attainable, but is it sustainable, or is it going to be so much work, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
not
Right.
when you redefine it for who you are, then it's totally sustainable because it lights you up and you get in flow. But we also, many people have a resistance to going big. And like you introduced me, my gift is helping people give their gifts to the world,
Mhm.
and their gifts are because in some way that's their whatever go big means to them. And it's like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
And if you got this bigness inside you, sooner or later, you're going to have to let it out, you know?
I love it. I love it. Well, I know, Linda, I know that you have a resource for everyone. So I'm going to put up the link there. Tell us about this resource.
Yeah, it's actually it's a section I pulled out of a paperback that I wrote, and I turned it into an ebook workbook, and it's called Success on Your Own Terms, and it actually takes you through the exact process that I outlined today, but gives you some workbook paper to do it, because just thinking about it isn't enough. You have to write it down and give it some time. It doesn't take that much time, but if you sat quietly, on a beautiful day outside, and
Mhm.
and and just thought about this, and really looked at each piece and said, now, no measuring stick, no measuring stick, no measuring stick, right? Then you can get to it. And then once you have a destination, like, oh, this is what it's going to look like, now you might recognize you're even closer than you think in ways you've been ignoring, right?
Yeah.
And you might
Yeah.
even put a few more things on your stop doing list. Right.
Wonderful. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So, for all our listeners, there's the link. Go to lindabucher.com/success. Download your worksheet. And Linda, I assume that's your website. So
Yeah.
your contact information is there.
Yeah, there's a
If
contact us page. You can just send me a note, goes
Oh,
right to
good.
my email.
Okay, perfect.
And I'm
Perfect.
happy to set up one-on-ones and chat with people who have any questions that, just like I said, go on the contact us form. Yep. See.
Terrific, terrific. Because I know there are people listening that you have perked up their ears, and you are speaking to their hearts, and so they can just fill out the contact us form and set up some time to talk to you. Is that right?
Yeah, that'd be beautiful.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming in today. I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you today, like I have on all the other occasions that we've talked. And I'm going to download your worksheet too and do it, because I think we can all use some work in this area.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, everybody who's listening, go to lindabucher.com/success and get your download because I know it's going to be helpful. Next Tuesday, we're on LinkedIn Live Bold Women Lawyers interview again. We'll be talking to the founder of Backroom Betties. So if you know you need help in your law firm, but you don't want to hire a W-2 employee, I get that. Come listen to what Emily LaRouche has to say about Backroom Betties and see if that might be helpful to you. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day.